Yes, we're back with another rider, another episode. Today we have Jack in the car, and he is a phenomenon, if you ask me. He's a race... What's your title? You're a racing car driver.
Just racing driver. I mean, everyone thinks Formula One, but, you know, it's kind of like a lot of us just kind of blend into civilian life. We're not, you know, super famous, or we are, you know, it's only the top end, even, you know, not people, many people even know the
Lewis,
top.
Lewis.
Like Lewis, but not even many people know the Formula E guys and stuff like that. It becomes, you know, we're there, we're everywhere, but we just kind of work in the shadows.
Sound like some special forces, the spooks, CIA spooks.
No, but it's a cool world. But you know, most people obviously only know the high-end Formula One, and then, you know, obviously Formula E. That's another form of Formula One, being an open wheel series.
What is Formula E?
So Formula E is...
Well, give us the tiers.
Well, you've got at the top of everything since Formula One. You know, it is the ultimate form of racing. It sits, looks down on all, is everything. It's the dream of pretty much everyone. You know, it's what inspires. It's the show.
Why is it the pinnacle? What's so special about it?
It's just, I guess it's always been the best drivers go to Formula One. It's been where the manufacturers, where the money is, where the fact is the cars are, the money that goes into the development of the cars, not just the drivers, it's the fact that, you know, in other forms of racing, cars are never developed, or you don't get the level of investment and development in the car throughout a season as you would Formula One car. They're constantly bringing updates, you know, these tiny little aero tweaks, teams with that up to 1,000 people. It's a lot.
1,000 people.
Right. Obviously, you've got stuff at the high end, you know, Mercedes and everything that goes. But that, you know,
you've got all the engineers at the back of the shop,
engineers, you know, chefs, everything. They are behemoths. Then obviously to the lower end, you've got Haas to outsource parts and engineering to different people to help with cost effects and cost caps. But obviously the cost caps come in a bit, so teams have to streamline. But, you know, it's supposed to be spending, you know, 200 million on a season. There's nothing that really kind of comes close to that. Obviously then, so it is just by far the most money spent on a championship. Then you've got the, you know, obviously you've got but then obviously the Formula One drivers, when they leave Formula One, they do go places and they do race other things. And, you know, when another Formula One driver goes somewhere, it can highlight other areas of sport, which, you know, your Formula One fan may not be focused on, or someone that isn't really into motorsport knows about. So when Fernando Alonso retired and wanted to kind of try different things, he went to the World Endurance Championship, which is the pinnacle of sports car and endurance racing, which, you know, at the top end is where, you know, there's a Formula One-esque equivalent for endurance cars, which was LMP1, which has now been LMP1 Hybrid, which has now been replaced by, you know, Hypercar and LMDH GTP. But those are manufacturers that want to focus on building endurance sports cars. So they use a carbon tub like Formula One. They use, you know, a lot of the manufacturers that do it, you know, Porsche are there, Ferrari are doing it. They're the, you know, obviously two well-known ones doing with hybrid systems like Formula One. It's a little less complex. It's supposed to be more cost-capped. It allows customers, so, you know, people that, you know, smaller sports car team, well, relative to Formula One, to be able to buy these cars and run them as privateers to race against the factory. It's like the equivalent of someone buying a Ferrari F1 car off the factory and racing against them in F1. That obviously doesn't happen, but in sports cars that can happen. So that's the top end of endurance racing. And then the famous race in the World Endurance Championship, which some people may have heard of, is the Le Mans 24 Hours. You know,
one person drive for 24 hours?
No. The other thing with endurance racing that makes it different to Formula One or the World Endurance Championship specifically is 2 to 3 drivers, 3 drivers for Le Mans. So you have, you know, 3 guys sharing a car. They've got to do, you know, driver changes. Depending on fuel, you know, it's about, you know, 35, 40 minutes a stint before you have to refuel, change tyres. And, you know, you can do a driver change in that. So drivers, you know, share seats. We mould inserts that can be pulled in and out of the car to our bodies, that conform to our bodies to make it comfortable to drive the car. And yeah, we will, we'll over the course of 24 hours, we'll do stints, 1.5, 2 hours in the car, swap out, rest, try to get some sleep in between, and go again.
So how many drivers are involved?
3 drivers for 24 hours normally.
Okay, 1.5 hours each.
It can depend. It's done off stints. There's minimum drive times. So sometimes each driver's got to do about 6 hours in the car. It depends on class, rules, regulations. But the basic of it is, most cars, if it's a sports car prototype, it's normally going to get 45 minutes of fuel roughly before it runs out and needs to be refueled. So you'd normally everyone tends to do doubles as the standard, so you stay in the car for 2 stints. You can do up to quadruples, maybe 3 before they swap the driver. But yeah, it can become, it's a completely different aspect. You are, obviously Formula 1 cars are incredible, but they are meant to endurance racing. That's almost a sprint race, an hour and a half of going flat out. I mean, they are insane, the highest engineered cars on the planet with their thermal efficiencies, their aerodynamics, they are top. But an endurance car has to go round a track, has to go wheel to wheel in multi-class racing, and for up to 24 hours. It's a completely different world. And the other thing with endurance racing, which may differ to your Formula 1, is it's multi-class. A lot of it is multi-class. In the World Endurance Championship, you've got GTs, and GTs are your race car versions of your favourite sports cars. So your Ferraris, your Lamborghinis, your Mercedes. These are the ones that when you see the cool hot road going version with all the wings that gets released, that is based off sometimes of the GT version. Takes inspiration from that. A GT version is basically, even though they can look quite similar, is a massively stripped out version. It takes the chassis and the base engine, then they put a whole new set of bodywork that looks similar, but it's all obviously aerodynamically designed and made of carbon fibre. It's got a full roll cage, ABS, all the bell that works, and bells and whistles. They are insane race cars. I have driven one on the road once for a big event, which is the biggest GT3 of race in the world, which is Spa 24 Hours, between Spa and the town, where all the cars go on display, and when you drive one of those things on the road, when they are completely, it is an interesting experience. You can't hear it. They are loud. They are uncomfortable. But yeah, this is all the.
So these races you're talking about, they're all European-based races.
Well, World Endurance Championship is a FIA World Championship, one of the World Championships. Now that goes all around the world. That has a race in America, Japan, the Middle East. Racing in FIA terms the core tends to be situated around Europe as the historical spot.
Did you see that documentary on Netflix about the Italian racers? Don't tell me you didn't see it. They talk about how they used to race cars from Lamborghini, Ferrari, and they started racing cars around the streets.
I haven't.
You need to see that, being a racer, man. It's a good thing.
I know.
It's like, what's the other one? The Brazilian driver.
Senna?
Yes. Oh, I fell in love with that guy when I watched that show, man. Netflix have a way of really drawing you in. I'm not even into car racing, and I was like, yeah.
No, that's the thing. Netflix with Drive to Survive has created this whole new. It has engaged a whole new era of fans for F1, and it's been one of their biggest, draws for it. And like lots of the endurance racing championships that are smaller, only real hardcore fans know are trying to replicate it in some way. Obviously, it's hard to entice Netflix, so they're trying to do it in their own small way with fan interactions and YouTube series and whatnot. But everyone's trying to replicate that success to help grow their own championships.
Yeah, but it does work though. It works.
It's massively. It's grown the sport massively.
Because I would never have raised my eyebrow to car racing. No disrespect to what you do, but it's just. And then when I saw this, I thought, well, let me watch this. And I was like, wow, what else you got it for me?
No, But that's the thing. A lot of people don't realise how physical car racing is. You know, people think, oh, you sit down, you're in a car. Oh, how hard can that be?
I hear it makes your forearms really strong.
You know, the thing that people forget about is the neck. You know, your neck is so key. The G-forces, it's, you know, it's the fact that over a race that you're constantly going around, it just builds up, eats away.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if your neck starts fatiguing and your eyes, you know, you start leaning and you're straining and everything, your focus drops, your vision goes. Vision is so important in racing. You know, you've got to be looking up, looking ahead.
So you've got to have 20/20.
Well, it's not.
And that suit's hot though, isn't it?
There's actually racing drivers that have glasses. You know, as long as you pass your medicals and everything with glasses, it's fine. But it's just as long as you're, you know, looking ahead, scanning.
But that suit's hot. It must be hot. So it's fire retardant.
Oh yeah, they are like, you know, you're wearing your onesie. You're wearing your ski thermals. You know, they are. It is not a comfortable experience.
Is it true that you have to pee in the suit?
Okay, so this is a thing. So, you know, this is more like endurance racing. I think something when you're in the car for a while, like it depends how much fluid you've taken on board. You know, I always try to, you know, pee before I get in the car to avoid this happening, because it's just, you know, sometimes when you're in the moment, you know, you don't worry about it. But when it's like a safety car or something, you slow down and then your body kind of almost relaxes. You kind of feel everything, and it kind of like, oh God, you know, I need the toilet. I have, you know, truthfully, hand on my heart, I've tried to go once before in my car, but I just could never relax enough. I know drivers that have done it, and it's like, you just kind of like, you kind of hope that if you're endurance racing, you kind of just hope that, you know, you're not the next driver in. But I mean, it's just.
Oh yeah, but so the suit doesn't hold the urine; it just goes on the seat, and the next driver sits on there.
It kind of, the suit will absorb it. I mean, they're just.
That's going to stink after within 24 hours in the hot desert or wherever you are. That's going to start to rink.
I luckily haven't been through it, but I can imagine. But to be perfectly honest, the amount of sweat and fluids you kind of drain out, your suit's already stinking. It's not like it's not glamorous Monaco that everyone thinks it is. Sometimes, you know, you stay. You know, obviously F1 obviously has this image, but at the other times when you're not staying in the 5-star hotel with, you know, the grid girls or anything like that. You're staying in a travel lodge in the middle of these tracks. So a lot of these tracks are situated, they say they're in the city, but they're in the industrial park on the edge of the city. You know, it's not the touristy bit, it's not anything like that. You know, you're in the travel lodge, the Holiday Inn, you know, which is fine. You know, that's the life. But that's why we do it. But
so you sign up for.
That's what you sign up for. But it's not. You know, sometimes the image that's perpetuated about racing isn't what it's like in reality. It's like there's, yeah,
it's like join the military, Navy, see the world,
see a car, you know, see Barcelona, see a car park in the outskirts in an industrial estate. You know, it's like that. But no, it has taken me to some awesome places around the world.
Would you do it all again?
Yeah, I mean, it's an addiction. You know, it is. It's just like, you know.
So give us your backstory. How did you get into this? Was your old man a racer or engineer or something?
No. I'm not a legacy or anything like that. You know, he always loved cars and, you know, machines. But as a kid, I just loved anything that moved, anything that, you know, just machines in general, planes, anything that had an engine. I loved it. You know, I did it a bit uniquely. I got into cars. You know, I didn't really do, you know, competitive karting or anything like that. We had family friends that raced and everything like that, and I went down with, you know, my dad and everything, and I got into it through that. And I started quite late, so I didn't have a strong karting background, but I just.
Oh, the go-karting.
Yeah,
so I interviewed a guy who's a go-kart, and he went against Porsche and cheated and won. They won, and then Porsche found out. He got disqualified and told off.
Go-karting is a cutthroat world. I mean, you know, that is, people spend serious money. It's you know, and people can burn their sponsorship out in go-karts now chasing academy things before they even get into cars, and then they have no money or sponsorship for cars to race cars, and then they have to stop. But I got into cars.
What age?
about 15, 16.
And that's late then.
Yeah, it's about the time you probably step up into cars, but without the background in karting, obviously I put myself at a massive disadvantage, but I worked at it. The other thing, which is very unique to me, which has, it is made it interesting to say the least, is my height. I am so much taller than.
Yeah, so I was going to say, you're like what, 6'3"?
Oh, taller than that.
6'7".
6'7".
Yeah, so I noticed you was tall when you come to the car. And Lewis Hamilton, he's like a bit of a midget, isn't he?
Yeah, I think people genuinely are getting taller now. Like,
yeah, all the fast food and
injections and everything. Yeah. People are, but yeah, traditionally drivers are, a tall driver was 6 foot, and that was a squeeze. So I never did single seaters. I never did any of that because I've never fit. I was always height compromised. That has, sometimes budget shapes and sponsorship shapes your development path as a junior. With me, it was height. I was some cars where I wanted to go next, I couldn't fit in, and it made it difficult. But
they don't want to change the shape of the car for you because. And can I ask you something? All these races, obviously, endurance races about making an engine that's really long.
Yeah, reliability.
What's the other races about? What's their main aim? Do you see what I mean? So I can understand if you're trying to do an endurance race because let's say that Honda's done that and now they're going to sell similar or take those things from that engine on the open market. But what are the other races about? Are they just racing for racing's sake, or?
It's marketing, really. It depends. Obviously, you've got sprint racing and touring car racing, like the British Touring Car Championship, which obviously manufacturers, it's good marketing for them. It gets good views on ITV, and in the domestic market, they want people seeing their cars, and they're winning. That's money is the driver of the sport. Really, it's what makes most sport is just inherently expensive. Even when you're doing these lower end endurance teams to do, for the lower categories, you're still needing 15, 20 guys, and the car. And think about it, the championship that sits below, or the class that sits below the top end endurance, is called like LMP2, and stands for LMP1 used to be, which was the F1, which had Toyota with the hybrid systems and everything like that, was Le Mans Prototype 1 and then Le Mans Prototype 2. That's the kind of, that's there's no manufacturers in that. That's all customer teams, smaller teams and everything like that do that, that race and everything and make money out of that through sponsorship. Their drivers bring sponsorship and everything like that and get sponsored doing that. But that's not a manufacturer, and that still can cost a car to run. The whole car can cost millions, because you've got the car's supposed to be cost capped at, I think, around 400,000 euros for everything, but parts cost money. Parts need to be replaced consistently. Bodywork, noses can cost 50,000-60,000 in crash damages, and brakes, a set of carbon fibre brakes could cost 20. This for the disc could cost 20,000-30,000 just for the discs, and they only last a race and a half before you need to replace them. Parts that these cars chew through are expensive. And that's the thing. Endurance racing means longer races, means more parts, more strain on the cars, which means more money.
Have you ever had an accident because when you're driving and you just got too much or anything?
Yeah, I've had accidents. Yeah, it's part of the job. I've had brake failure at the back straight at Silverstone. Going like 160, 170.
What?
Yeah.
What? So
Yeah.
what happened? Because you're still here.
No, I'm still here. It's a testament to the cars and the people.
Well, you run into those rubber tyres.
I went into those rubber tyres hard. That is, I mean.
Because we're doing 90 miles an hour, and I would have hit a wall now.
No.
I'm doing that now for nothing.
Honestly, that is an experience, to say the least. I can't say I'd recommend it.
Do you believe in God?
I mean, in that moment, I did.
It's one of those, we used to say in the military, it got so hairy, you found out what God you served.
Exactly. It's just the shock. Come out, maggots and Beckett's, and you're preparing yourself and it was lap 3 of the first. It was like my third lap it was like free practice or practice.
Bro, you got all those engineers. How are you getting brake failure?
It was just one of those. That's the thing. These cars are under so much stress. Stuff like that happens. You know, the car was prepped. It wasn't. You know, it's just that is the risk of motorsport. You know, these cars are under such load, such strain that it just did the rear brake line, and so the pedal, you know, is in these things is normally like it's rock hard carbon fiber brakes. So it's just you hit it. It's like you put so much. You have to do so much leg train just to be able to hit the maximum pressure. I do that, and boom, pedal just goes to the floor. And this, I can't tell you how wide my eyes got at that point.
Yeah, you're taking in everything, innit?
Everything.
Woo!
And it's and you're trying to do everything you can do at this point. So you kind of, your muscle memory kicks in. The rear brakes are locked on. So, and the brakes are the way it's been. So they've gone to the ground. There's no, it's not efficient braking. It's not. I can't steer or anything like that because the fronts are locked. So if I steer, it doesn't matter because they're not rolling. And if they're not rolling, they're not going to grip up and do anything. So I'm just sliding straight into a wall. One thing I do, and I did this, and even in the moment, I guess I don't even remember. I knocked it down the gears to the lowest gear as possible, which is engine braking, which is a big part of driving a car, using the gears to help slow the car down, and that's just used consistently. You know, being in the right gear in racing is always key to just help prep or slow the car for an exit or an entry. I did that, knocked it down, and that was basically all I could do at that point. I was just a passenger. And yeah, luckily, actually,
you was the passenger.
Well, you're just a passenger.
Because the brake's not working.
You can't do anything. You're just going in. You can't steer. And it's happening so fast. And that will, you know, sometimes in racing, when you're in the moment and it happens, it's like, it's just, I don't know. It's better because the fact is that it was so much time to think this is gonna hurt. You know,
Yeah.
you can see it. It's the fact that you've got the.
You do that last minute.
You're waiting. Yeah,
brace yourself.
You just know it. It's the fact that you just know that it's like being on a roller coaster. You know, you're strapped in and you can do nothing. And you just know that wall is coming at you at over 100 miles an hour, and all I can do is just sit there and wait. And you don't know. And you're thinking,
you're in the hands of the gods.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God, my legs. You know, am I going to be? You know,
and
yeah, bam. You know, straight. You know, actually, luckily.
Do you remember the whole process of you hitting the wall?
Yeah. I remember it all. I didn't have. You know, I got really lucky. I didn't black out, which is good. Didn't get a concussion off it, but.
You got the fire suit on?
So obviously I've got my 6-point back. So, you know, you're in the car, your body is pressed to the seat because any movement isn't good in the car because it can give you, you know, you've got to feel everything through your body in the car. Yeah. Any movement.
So you in the car one?
Yeah, exactly. It's like anything, you should feel it as one. But all strapped in, all safe. Got my hands device, got my, you know, carbon fiber helmet, everything. I've got it's a big series, so it's an LMP2 car and everything. So I'm a high-end thing, all carbon fiber monocoque. It's like the F2 equivalent for endurance racing. And I remember it all, just sailing in. And luckily, actually, I went head on. And the reason why I think it's lucky is because these cars have got, you know, the nose is everything is designed. There's crash structures involved, which are designed like your road car.
Crumple zone kind
of. To mitigate and absorb. So obviously, going head on, that spread the load over the biggest area possible. That's your best, you know, that's your most protection is on the head on. I didn't want to go in at an angle where it's weird and it puts all the focus.
And the wheels.
Yeah, or more like if I went on a corner, you don't want to put the focus all on one corner, which is one pressure point, and that could then do whatever. But luckily I went head on, so it mitigated the forces as best I could. But it was over, and then I hit. I was instantly winded. And yeah, and it just meant that I was like, oh my God, I've broken my back. You know, I can't breathe. I'm like that.
The seatbelt held you in place?
Yeah, everything did its job. I remember like getting my hands and smashing my legs. It was like, can I film? I was like, I've winded. I'm like, oh my God, I've broken my back. But you're just thinking the worst case scenario at this point. and my back's, hurt, and everything's, there's a lot of impact going through your body. And and then I'm smashing my legs, being like, are they there? Like, can I feel them, basically? Do I have feeling in my legs? And I'm like, I do, and everything. Eventually my diaphragm relaxes, I can get air back, but it's experience. You think that worse for that split second. And then, I over 30 Gs, instant deceleration. You're going from over to nothing. I mean, if you're in a road car, I think can't imagine what would happen. But that,
Did the car go on fire?
No fire, no nothing like that. Luckily, obviously, gone in front end, rear engine car, so everything that was fuel tank, everything that was behind and everything, the front was obviously caved in, crumpled. But
talking about all of that, what does the future hold for you in racing and cars? Because are they going to become electric?
Yeah, obviously the big thing, and that was looking like it, but in the ever-changing landscape, it seems people like Porsche are pushing for synthetic fuels, e-fuels, carbon neutral fuels, and they want to keep combustion around longer and potentially keep that combustion with hybrid technology. But the problem with electric is it is expensive. It's really expensive to run, and that creates more costs and everything. That's the roots. I think that people are hoping this, and major manufacturers are pushing this, to keep thing is to keep those e-fuels, and it's being talked about now for F1 for their stability thing, and again keeping the hybrid e-fuels. Obviously the other thing is electric. That's going nowhere. And then nowhere just yet. And then the other one, obviously, the other option you've got is
the O2
hydrogen. And that's being looked at very heavily in endurance racing. There's talk about a class for them in the future in the top end of endurance.
Hydrogen being just water, H2O.
Well, yeah, a component of it that, one of the byproducts when it's, used is water. But they're hydrogen fuel cells. I think Toyota are quite keen on that. I think BMW have shown interest in that. So there's looking at that those are the kind of your three options. And at the end of the day, a lot of the top end stuff is dictated about who puts the money in, and who puts the money in tends to be the manufacturers, and where it's relevant to them in terms of marketing and engineering processes. So it's, at the moment, it's kind of a really, I guess everything's in a transition phase in sports cars. Championships, classes and championships are coming to the end of their cycles, and they're beginning to be replaced by their next generation, or they're getting ready to replace them. And it's all about talk of what replaces them. So it's a real interesting transition period in racing at the moment.
Just a couple more questions. We're getting closer to the journey. It's been a very fascinating interview. So you walked away from that car crash?
Yeah, I extricated myself. Yeah, I got out myself. Obviously my body was full of adrenaline. I then got I kind of walked a few things, and then I kind of all the pain, all the soreness kind of hit. And obviously they take you in the ambulance and everything like that. After they take you, the medical teams they've got at these places are outstanding. And some of the volunteers, the guys that give up their time to do this, professors and everything, they're just motorsport fans. So you've got some of the best doctors around sometimes. And I got out of the car, I guess under my own adrenaline. I had feeling it was numbing everything. They obviously check you over. They do everything that's part of, they've got a whole process. Can you move your neck? Everything? Did you lose consciousness? All of that, none of that. I got out, and then kind of getting to the thing. The pain, the pain started coming a bit, and it was just obviously my body taking a lot of impact, and it had been dissipated throughout my body, so it became very sore very quickly. Yeah, and it just put a lot of load through my my spine and my body and everything like that. But I had to, they took me to be checked out and everything like that, and I just needed, I had to, miss a few races and everything like that. No permanent damage or anything, just, they had to let my body recover from the kind of the trauma of it all. They said to rest, to not put your body under strain. So
no nightmares or anything?
Yeah, you know what, honestly, I think it's, you know, the mental toughness and everything. I'm not afraid to like talk about it or anything like that. Yeah, it gave me some trust issues that I had to get over when I came back to the car. I had a little bit of PTSD from it. The brakes are your safety net, and when that fails, you lose trust. You feel worried. You know, the next time I got in the car, I was really, you know, I was hesitant, I was scared, you know, but by the end of the day, I was back to myself. But it took me, you know, I talked to people about it, got help for it. You know, I'm not afraid to say that, because it was such a big, I'd lost I felt I'd lost that net a bit to trust.
You'd have been better if the steering wheel came off in your hand and you at least could press the brake.
Exactly. The fact is that exactly, you know, like, oh, well, grab the knob, see what I can do, see if I can turn it. But it just felt that, you know, it felt that safety net had failed. I lost my protection and everything like that. It just made you had that doubt. But I worked through it. I broke it down logically and everything like that, and I got to a place where that isn't a problem anymore. But you know, just that first time back in a car, I can't say there wasn't doubt for a bit, but I got over after it. But I worked through it and got over it.
Jack, it's been a great interview. We have to round up now. My last quick question is, where can people find you on social media if they want to follow you? Fans, all that.
If anyone is interested in the life of a
don't say it like that, man.
lower racing driver, Instagram's probably the best place, and it's Jack Manchester, but it's JR Manchester is my tag on Instagram.
JR Manchester.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great for having you. Thanks a lot, and we wish you well.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. It's always fun to talk about these things, and you know, it's a passion and I love it.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
We hope that episode enhanced your life. We post an interview every day, as well as vlogging on our social media channels. Don't forget to subscribe to get our latest episode.